Hello, and welcome to Finding the Inner Strength. My name is Cheryl, and it is episode 2 of my awesome new podcast. I was going to say broadcast, podcast. And I was wondering, okay, episode 1 was pretty simple. It was more of an intro, kind of give you a background of myself within condensing it to 20 minutes. And I was like, what's speaking to me for episode 2? What is at the forefront of my mind, and kind of, I guess, what the journey is for myself that I think could resonate with listeners and maybe with people that might have similar struggles or ease into things. And what I'm meaning by that is, I would say for myself over the last, I was going to say 2 to 3 years, but yeah, I think it's been 2 to 3 years of this mission or journey and helping myself figure out what's going on in my mind and how my mental health affects me with my day-to-day things, from being just for my own health to my interactions with my husband and my adult children, to my friends, how it affects my choices in my career. And yeah, I think I might surprise a few of you, because people that do know me usually are very much aware of the ease I have with talking with people and just hanging out, maybe a little bit outgoing. And the last few years, I've been trying to rediscover that person, the outgoing, talkative, full of self-confidence, getting rid of self-doubt. And it's been quite a road. And like I mentioned in episode 1, I do talk to a therapist. I started talking to them this year, May 2024, is when I started seeing a therapist, because I was at a point in my life that I finally looked at my husband. I said, this is either hormonal, I am 46, or there's something else going on, or it could be a combination of things. I'm very much an advocate for myself when it comes to my own physical and mental health. And just because there's been so many changes for me the last few years, that I've really noticed that I want to make sure that I am that advocate and not feeling like I'm annoying anybody or to get answers on how I'm doing mentally. So I'll rewind a little bit here. So in May 2024, when Ken and I that's my husband, Ken, had just gotten back from our first travels down south. As I mentioned, I think in episode 1, we live full time in our fifth wheel, and it was a fantastic, fantastic trip. It was a little bit of discovery and how it would work. We kind of figured we weren't going to murder each other. We travel really, really well together, and we've been married for 24 years together for, I'm going to say, 31 years we've been together. I started dating when I was 15. He was 16. So anyways, sorry, regress there for a second. Go back to May 2024. So May this year, I was just tanking mentally, like really emotional, and not knowing why this kept happening. So the scenario could be easy to describe, is we're home in our fifth wheel, and all of a sudden I just get this heaviness and uncertainty and this emotional plunge of not feeling smart enough, not feeling adequate enough, questioning everything that I want to do and be successful with. My questioning the relationship with my husband, questioning the relationship with my children, even with my own parents and my sister. There's always questioning. And it's been getting pretty heavy lately that it was just, or at that time, that I just was just done. Like I am that type of personality that if something's happening with my mental health or my physical health, I basically get to a point where I'm like, okay, that's enough. Pull up your socks, move forward. Let's find the answers to this. I get that little motivation, but then there's the other days where I just don't feel like there's a purpose or a reason for giving advice or having that self-confidence in creating things for my own career, my own hobby, which is yoga. And I absolutely love leading groups, helping people and individuals discover their mind and their body. But I get these days where I just don't feel that I am capable of doing that. So at that time in May, that's when I looked at Ken and I was like, I really need to figure this out. I need to talk to somebody. And so kind of did a little bit of research, looked into some contacts in the area where we were situated at the time and got a really good therapist. She's quite lovely. And just started on this journey of sessions and discovering a little bit more of myself. So to even go further back, especially for people that don't know me, when I was a child, I was known as happy-go-lucky, extremely talkative, energetic, but not energetic, I think, that would drive people nuts. I think it was more me chatting that would drive people nuts. And it was one of those things that early on, there was a point, because I was such a chatterbox, it could be a little bit much for people. And I understand that, but I also understand that words are powerful. And there'd be times that I would be told to be quiet or to shut up. And that's another thing, and we'll talk about here in a second. And or kind of like little contests to see how long I could be quiet, and they would pay me money. That happened once. A relative when I was younger. Hey, if you can be quiet for, say, 5 minutes, I'll give you $5. So I don't think it was a malicious thing through the years of telling me to be quiet or to shut up. But I have a hard time saying the SU saying. It's like it actually does create anxiety and hurt when I hear it. And when I raised my kids, it was probably one of the one things that I let them know it's not acceptable in my house. And I said to them that there was no reason for them to ever say it to anybody. It was because of myself being a young child back when, and being told to shut up or be quiet, or hey, I'll give you this amount of money if you can just be quiet for this amount of time. And you know what? I did stay quiet for that 5 minutes because I wanted the $5, but at the same time, it was within a room of adults that I just felt very uncomfortable and small. And like I said, I know it wasn't malicious, but when I see kids now and I hear kids now that are just chatterboxes, I completely understand where sometimes it's not controllable, but you kind of work with it and you give them that, I guess, the space and to know that their voice has meaning. So for myself, I'm going to back up there, sorry. it got to a point, I think, when I became a teenager, and a later teenager, I probably wasn't as chatty and as probably the confidence of knowing. Like I think that's when I go back to the time of knowing I might have been becoming a little bit more quiet, not exactly who I was meant to be, with sharing thoughts and expression and stories and excitement. I think I withdrew a little bit in that time. And then hubby and I, we started dating, like I said, when I was about 15. He was 16. And yeah, we went through high school, and he joined the military, of course. And then I followed him from Nova Scotia to Alberta because I was like, that's what I'm going to do. It felt right, and that's what I want to do. Totally against what my parents want me to do. They wanted me to have like a full-time job lined up and everything, and I understand. And they were a little hurt because I kind of just went behind their back and bought a plane ticket. That's a whole other story. Anyways, so we got settled in Alberta, and life was really good. I don't think there was anything heavy in there on friendships or our relationship, Kennan's and my relationship, that had anything to do with my confidence per se and my voice. I think it was just already ingrained in me. People that I'm very comfortable with, I'm very chatty with, and you all know who you are. Or if I'm very confident and comfortable in a environment, I'm very much like this, chatty, opened, empathetic, and anyways. So in my 20s, we had a great friend group. You guys all know who I'm talking about. This great group in Edmonton. We always got together as groups. We had great social times. And I honestly can't think of feeling fully shut down at that time. Even when our kids were born, I was full-time mom, full-time wife, full-time friend. Yeah, and no regrets at all. And then we got posted to New Brunswick for, of course, Ken's work, and had 5 amazing years in New Brunswick. That's where I started teaching piano. Had been playing piano since I was 5, so by then I would have been later 20s when I started teaching piano. And just getting that confidence to do it. And I really enjoyed it, and had an amazing lady friend group in New Brunswick, and like amazing women from other spouses, military spouses, to also military spouse / in the military. And I don't know if I can describe what those friendships were like. They meant and they mean the world to me, even though we haven't talked in a long time. But what an amazing group of friends. And so, yeah, mentally in New Brunswick, I think I was good also. I think I was very comfortable with my surroundings, my environment, my friend group. The path that I was taking on creating my own little career with teaching piano, meeting amazing families. But I do remember having a little voice questioning everything I was doing. And it wasn't a voice that was questioning if I was, it was the voice of self-doubt and ripping apart my ability to do things. And it wasn't very strong back then, but it was there. Then we got posted back to Alberta, and yeah, it was a great location. Created had the same friend group before, but also some more amazing families and friends in Gibbons, Alberta, mostly through hockey and ringette. Also, I was teaching piano, and it was just yeah, there's just no words to express. There are words, actually. The friends that I got there, made there, and still in contact with the majority of them. True friendship, like family. At that time, through the years, Ken and I and the kids never lived close to family because being military, we just happened to be posted away from Nova Scotia. My sister was in more southern Alberta, but she can contest to this. We weren't very close. We're very two different people and love each other immensely. She has such a huge heart. And, but yeah, we're not very close. To this day, we still don't know why, but we're just not very close. So anyways, I think it's because we're two completely different people, but love her to death. And I know she's listening, so she'll smack me later. So anyways, when we moved up to the Northwest Territories, to Yellowknife for a posting, that one was exciting at first and seemed like there was so much opportunity up there, and there is. Yellowknife and the Northwest Territories, if you ever get a chance, go up and visit, because it's such an exceptional, amazing area. The landscape, the people, and we made some pretty good friends up there. What happened for me, and this is what sticks out the most now within the last couple of years, that's where I started to dive down deep into a hole. And excuse me. And it wasn't easy. Like, I didn't realize how much of an effect it had on me until after we left, months after we left. So we moved to Yellowknife, and I had an opportunity to work at a naturopathic office in Nibin, and it was good. Really nice staff, but it just didn't, like, the amount I was making in income wasn't really adequate and wasn't really speaking to me. And so I ended up working at, actually, I got hired on at a middle school, as a librarian and part-time EA. And I absolutely loved working in this school. I love kids, and this particular school is a middle school, and man, I love it. Some people think I'm crazy, but that age group and the honesty from these kids and what they're looking for and what they were looking for, and I looked forward to seeing these kids every day. And on top of working at the school, sometimes I was part-time, sometimes I was full-time. I also taught piano. I accompanied a youth choir up in Yellowknife. And I also started teaching yoga. I got my certification actually in Yellowknife by an amazing woman, Sylvie Bouclair. And she was phenomenal. It was very much a blessing to get my first 200 hours with her. The decline was not the friends that we made up there, was not from working so much. Everything I did, I absolutely enjoyed. And also at that point, I had a hard time saying no to things. I always said yes. But there was a particular group environment that was extremely hard to be around in a workplace. And I don't think to this day they knew and know the ramifications of their behavior as a group had on not just myself, but I saw it with other staff. I saw it with students. And then I started losing myself. Like, I didn't realize at that point how much it affected me. And even being questioned on my ability to do my job. And it was hard. I didn't realize how much I pulled myself away from being my true authentic self in that environment. I started having anxiety. I started having, I would say, panic attacks. We would be invited to friends for like a garage, like our kitchen party kind of thing. And I just couldn't do it because the thought of talking to people was getting heavy on me, and feeling comfortable and smart enough to talk to them. It was so hard. Like I couldn't even, I didn't share it with anybody because I was just going through it and not, didn't feel like it was important to share with anybody. Because I was also I was being the mother of two teens at the time, making sure that they were getting up and eating and surviving each day, which they were. And then hubby with his work, and he had his struggles too when it came to coming towards the end of his career. And I just tried to stay strong for everybody. And it's funny because when my parents would come visit, my mom had mentioned to my husband a few times like what was wrong with me, and he didn't know. And I didn't even know that they knew that there was an issue. Like I just kind of was going, it's almost like you're going through, swimming through water and you're trying to come up for air, but you can't, you're just getting up enough just to take in a little bit of gulp of air, and you go back under, you pull back under. And that's how I felt for 3 years. Just kept getting pulled back, pulled, trying to get air. And then like that, I think that's when the voice, the, as my therapist calls it, the bad friend, became stronger, and was making me believe everything it was saying in my head. And it was, I'm not good at my job. I'm not good at teaching piano. I'm not good at being a friend. I'm not very smart. It was really hard, and it was almost 24/7. It got to a point where it's almost 24/7 of having this negative voice in my head. And the group that was in where I worked, I don't think they understood how toxic they were together. I don't think they realized, well, maybe one or two of them did. I think two of them maybe didn't realize how toxic it was, because when you got them on their own, they were super lovely and so nice. And I don't think it was fake. But you know what it's like when you get pulled into that group mentality, and yeah, it's heavy. And yeah, I didn't realize it was affecting how I was with other staff members. Actually, with other staff members, I eventually just didn't talk to anybody except for a few people I was very comfortable with. And but then I also found out from some of those lovely people that they felt the same way. So when it came to that specific group, and I'm not calling anybody out. I want people to understand that their behaviors and their actions to another human being or around another human being can be huge, can be so huge. And I'm not saying that you need to tiptoe, or if you have opinions, have a conversation, but don't be mean. And that's exactly what it was. And I also watched it with students, it being done to students also. And anyways, it was hard because where I worked in the library, and for the majority of the day, which I absolutely love because I was around books. But I yeah, I would watch because I had windows and I could see the kids like doing their laps. Like, so sometimes we'd have morning wake up, and if it was too cold outside, because this is Yellowknife, you're looking at -40s, -50s in the winter, but kids would be walking laps. But you would see these kids that just felt unseen. You could just tell, you could feel it. you could see the groups of kids that had no problem with their peer group, having fun, just being goofy. But then I would see these other kids also that didn't fit in, or if this adult group, peer, like people I worked with, didn't really like these kids, you could just see the difference how they treated these kids to other kids. And I couldn't understand it. It baffled me, and it just hurt my heart to see how, as educators, they were creating this toxicity. And I wore it. It was so heavy to watch. And it's like, being drugged underwater, getting up for that little breath of air and then whatever. And I realized one day that because I felt so insecure and unseen, unheard, new staff that would be coming in all the time, because it does change quite a lot up north for staff. I wasn't myself with them, and I do apologize if I was ever. I have apologized to some, like, hey, I didn't realize I did that or said it that way. I'm really sorry. And it wasn't me. I was turning into a whole different person. So not fast forward, sorry. We left Yellowknife in 2021. My husband was retired from the military. Both kids have graduated from school, and I was done with winters. Done with winters up in Yellowknife. So we moved down to the Cochrane area in Alberta. And I realized I didn't know. This is when I started realizing that I had lost myself. So I'm going to continue with that in the next episode. And just because there's a lot to dive into on my journey with my inner voice that shut me down for quite a while. So, thank you for joining me for episode 2. And we'll continue episode 3 from when I moved to Alberta. We moved to Alberta, and where my mental health journey went from there. Thank you so much. And have any feedback, you can find me at yogainSmallSpaces.com, or on Facebook, Yoga in Small Spaces with Cheryl, or even on Instagram, Yoga in Small Spaces with Cheryl. And have a great day, great week, great month.